Right. Good morning, guys. Today we complete the remaining topics of the simple mechanism or the basic link mechanism of the COM. But I'll just go through simple points which we already covered in the previous topics, which is inversion mechanism, which is the most important thing for anything. We define what is a mechanism is. Mechanism is something in which at least one of the link is fixed. If any one of the link is fixed, we define it as a mechanism. uh, what is inversion mechanism is we change this fixed link to one to another. By changing the fixed link to one link to another link, we'll find different ways of mechanisms. That is what inversion mechanism is. And this inversion mechanism, defining about this inversion mechanism, we consider three types there: the four bar chain, the single slider tank, and a double slider tank mechanism. And in this four bar chain, we define what is a four bar chain mechanism. We are done with the inversions of four bar chain mechanism, which is the beam engine, which is coupling rod locomotive, which is watt indicator. And we are done with the single stator crank chain mechanisms, which is single stator crank chain mechanism. The inversions of that are pendulum, oscillating, rotary engine. And now we are the last part of the single stator chain mechanism, which is a quick return motion mechanism. And this is our quick return motion mechanism. We'll see first with the what is this quick return motion mechanism. I'll show you the diagram later. Now we'll see first here. You have a link called AC. I'll show you the diagram. You have a link AC, which is a third link, which is forming a turning pair fixed. It is a fixed. Okay. Next thing, this link 3 corresponds to the connecting rod of a reciprocating engine. So we have a link 3 which is denoted by AC, which is fixed. Now this is corresponds to the connecting rod of a reciprocating engine. Now the driving crank CB revolves with a uniform angular speed about the center C. We have a driving crank. Crank itself is crank is something which rotates, right? So we have a driving crank CB which revolves. We have a driving crank CB which revolves with an angular speed C with fixed center C. Now, next, a sliding block it is attached to the crank at pin B. Once again explain you, we have a fixed link which is AC, which is link 3. Now this fixed link is connected to the reciprocating steam engine. Next we have a driving crank which rotates at C. To this driving crank we have a sliding block. They attached a sliding block at point B which slides along bar AP, which is sliding along bar AP, and thus AP to oscillate about point O. So the sliding block is at pin B. It slides along AP. Now what happens to AP? This AP oscillates at a point A. Now we have a short link PR which transmits the motion AB to the ram, which carries the tool and reciprocating along the line R. I think we are done. We have a clarity what terminology is. We'll also see the diagram here. It is very easy one, right? Now, first what we said, we have a fixed link AC. Now, this is our fixed link AC. This is link 3, which is fixed link. Now, this is connected to the what we say connecting node of a engine. Now, this is connected to the connecting node of engine. Now, if you see this link, this fixed link is connected to this one, right? Okay, that is what connected to the engine. Now the next one is there we mentioned we have a crank. Now this is our crank C, crank link 2. This is our crank link BC, which is rotating at C, fixed point C, which is rotating at a fixed point. It can rotate around with a fixed point C. BC is our crank. Now next what we said, on this crank we have a sliding bar at B. This is a slider. But what actually happens is we have a slider there, sliding free, which can move along AP. That means this is moves along AP, this thing. And what happens to this AP? This AP starts oscillating in this way. Now the AP starts oscillating. On this AP we have a slider which starts moving along here at point B. That is what it is. Okay. Now the next one what here we mentioned is a short link PR transmits the motion from AP to the RAM. A short link PR transmits motion, a short link PR. Now see this, a short link PR transmits motion from AP to the RAM. This is our RAM, right? That means that's the tool which is moving. Now the link, what happens to the link? This link will transmit the motion from AP to the RAM. Well, that's what they are mentioned. Next, to the RAM, which carries the tools. The RAM carries the tools and reciprocate along the line R2, R1, R2. The line along the line R1, R2. The line of the stroke is perpendicular to AC produced. The line of a stroke is perpendicular to the AC produced. Now, on totality, I'll explain you again. Now, this is our fixed link. This fixed link is attached to a rod, some connecting rod. Now we have a slider crank BC, which rotates at point C. Now B is a slider at point B. We have a slider which moves along AP. Now this AP will oscillate to the at a point P. We have a smaller link PR attached to the RAM, which transmits motion from AP to the RAM. Now this RAM is a tool. Now this tool moves along a line R1, R2. Now this is our cutting stroke. R1, R2 is our cutting stroke. This is what links are. Now I'll explain what exactly happening is. If you see, this crank starts rotating in this way. It will start rotating in this way. That means if you see, now this is a rod, this is a crank. Now the crank starts rotating like this. Now what happens to this AP? AP starts oscillating, right? Now when it comes back, if the crank again comes back, what happens? AP will start to move in other way. That means this crank is moving in this way. Now the AP will start oscillating from here to here. That means from P2 to again P1 and P2 to P1. This is what happening. Now the slider here, what this slider do is, the slider will move in the downward direction. That means if the crank key is here, the slider will be in here. If the crank comes here, the slider will move here. Now what happens? The AP is oscillating, the crank is moving, and the slide is reciprocating. The motion from the AP is transmitted by the shorter link to the RAM. Now what happens RAM if the link is oscillating? What happens to the RAM due to the shorter link? RAM will move this side and this side. Here the RAM will move in this direction, and the tool starts cutting the workpiece there. This is what actually happening there. Now if you see, I think you are clear. R1, R2 is the line of stroke. The cutting stroke is in this direction. The return stroke is in the opposite direction. If you see the angles part, I'll explain it. We have an angle beta here. What is this beta? What is this alpha? No, we should see what exactly those beta, those alpha things uh, meant there. Right. Now in the extreme position AP1, I think AP1, now oscillating AP1 and AP2, the tangential of the circle and the cutting tool is end of the stroke. That means the tangential of the circle, these two will be the tangentials of the circle, the cutting stroke. The forward or cutting stroke occurs when the crank rotates from the position CB1 to CB2. We have cutting forward stroke and return stroke. It happens when crank moving from the position CB1 to CB2. We'll see what is that CB1 and CB2 points. Now this is our C. This is B1. This is B2. What we said, the cutting or the return stroke. That means when it is moving from CB1 to CB2, we will have our forward stroke. That means the cutting stroke. Now it is moving from CB2 to CB1 again, you will have the return stroke. So when crank is moving from CB1 to CB2, you have forward stroke. When crank is moving from CB2 to CB1, you will have the return stroke there. That is what mentioned there. Next, we said we have some angles there, right? Now, if you see the angle from CB1 to CB2 is beta. In the diagram, I think you can see. The same way, CB2 to CB1 is our alpha, which is moving in the clockwise direction. Now we should find we have an ratio here. The time of cutting stroke to the time of return stroke is cutting stroke is beta, which is CB1 to CB2. Return stroke is alpha, which is CB2 to CB1. This is beta. Assume it as beta. Then alpha will be 360 minus beta. It is an obvious one. Or assuming this beta has 360 minus alpha, and this is alpha. Okay. Now the line of stroke which we mentioned is R1, R2. This is the tool travels in the direction of R1, R2. And there, if you see some geometry there, during the cutting and the return stroke, therefore the travel tool of the length is R1, R2. So there the angle is some R1, R2, which we are mentioning, which is equal to P1, P2, which is not, but due to geometry, we are explaining it as the P1, P2 and R1, R2 are same. That means if you see the geometry here, from R1 to R2 and P1 to P2, both are same because they both are parallel. If you consider this is a parallel thing, R1, R2 and P1, P2 are same. Now this P1, P2 can be written as 2 times of PQ or P1Q, right? Because it is a Q is a halfway distance to P1, P2. We can write here as a 2 P1Q. That means the P1, P2 is written as 2 P1Q. Now, if you take the triangle or if you take an angle P1AQ there, we'll see again what actually this P1AQ is there. Here is an angle P1A, this is our Q. We need this angle, okay? What is this angle? Now you see here B2 to B1 is alpha, this is some beta, but we need this angle. This is obviously the 90 degrees part. Now what can be this is? Now this is 90 minus alpha by 2. How actually it happened is, this is completely alpha. This is completely alpha. If halfway through, this will be definitely alpha by 2. So if you take this triangle, this is 90 degrees and this is alpha by 2, then this is definitely 90 minus alpha by 2. So the angle there is 90 minus alpha by 2. Now we'll take sine 90 minus alpha by 2 here. Sine is always opposite by hypotenuse. So in the triangle, this is a triangle. A, P1, Q is a triangle. Here, this opposite is P1Q. Hypotenuse is P1A. Okay, clear? So the opposite is P1Q. The hypotenuse is P1A. There we need the P1Q part. If you see P1Q, because there is P1, P2 is written as 2 into P1Q. Then sine is equal to opposite by hypotenuse, which is P1Q by P1A. Then P1A, bring this P1A to the sine part. Then you will have 2 P1A or AP1, AP1, P1Q, P1 angle sine P1AQ. 2 AP1, this is sine 90 minus alpha by 2, which I mentioned. Sine 90 minus alpha by 2 is sine cos alpha by 2 to AP. Now we'll see what is this cos. I'm considering it as AP1 is equal to AP, which I'm considering since. Now we need cos alpha by 2. Okay, how can we get the cos alpha by 2 then? From the geometry itself, the cos alpha by 2 part. Now this is our alpha by 2, which I mentioned. Right? This is alpha and this will be our alpha by 2. In this triangle, if alpha by 2, we need alpha by 2, cos alpha by 2, adjacent by hypotenuse. And this is our adjacent part. Okay, hypotenuse is, okay, cos is equal to adjacent by hypotenuse. So we have cos alpha by 2 is equal to, the adjacent part is CV1, the hypotenuse part is AC. So substitute cos alpha by 2 is CV1 by AC. Again, I am assuming that CB1 is equal to CB2 AP by CB by AC. We got it is a relation. That is what quick return mechanism, motion mechanism is. Now we will go to Whitworth quick return mechanism. Again, we'll see what's happening here. This mechanism is mostly for shaping mission, sorting mission. In this mechanism, we have a CD link forming turning pair which is fixed. We have fixed link CD, link 2. The link 2 is corresponding to the crank in the reciprocating, which is connected in the crank in the reciprocating engine. The driving crank CA, we have a driving crank, rotates with uniform angular speed. We have a slider attached to the crank point A, slides along the point PA, which oscillates the pivoted point B. The connecting rod PR carries the ram to which the cutting tool. The motion of tool is considered along the position R. So this is somewhat which is related to the quick return mechanism with Whitworth. From the diagram we'll see come. We have a fixed link DC here, which is fixed DC. We have a crank here. This is our crank link 3. This is our crank if you see. So this is our crank. CA is our crank. But at point A, we have a slider. This slider will move along this line. and this point having AP, which starts what we say, which starts oscillating or reciprocating. This is attached to connecting with the RAM, and now the RAM starts moving in this direction. I think we are clear. I'll explain you again. We have a fixed link BC, and we have a crank CA. At A, we have a slider. This slider will move along with the CAP. At point P, we have a connecting node which is fixed to the RAM, and now the RAM starts moving in this direction. I think we are clear. Now I'll explain the process here. What happens is when this crank CA starts rotating, it starts rotating with an uniform angular speed. That means it starts rotating. If you see, then what happens to the AP bar? AP bar will start also rotating, right? Because this crank itself is rotating. Then what happens to the connecting rod which is attached at P? It will start reciprocating. So when the crank rotating, this AP will also rotate, and now the connecting rod P, the P from P we have connecting rod to the RAM, it will start moving. And when it's come back, the tool is moving in the opposite direction. In the forward, it is a cutting stroke. In the opposite, it is a return stroke. That is what happening here. If you see, there are some points here to be noted. It means then this A is connecting at A2. That means it is a crank position meeting the axis. And again, if it is coming back, this A2 is our crank position. But if you see, if this P is also moving, right? This AP is also rotating. This is P1. When this P is rotating, it is P1. Here it is P2. 2 points. Remember. I think you are okay with the diagram and the process there and the links also. In the same way, we have cutting stroke and the return stroke here. I think please you go through those parts there because it is very easy, which I explained the quick return mechanism. It is same to the Whitworth mechanism. There are, I mentioned you here some 2 to 3 problems. Please go through the problems, and if any doubt, please explain me. As I mentioned, we have to discuss 3 inversion mechanisms. The first one is 4-bar mechanism. The second one is single slider chain mechanism, and the third one is double slider chain mechanism, slider gang mechanism. First we are done. Now we are way to the double slider chain mechanism. What exactly this double slider chain mechanism means? Here we have 2 turning pairs and 2 sliding pairs. I think you know what is turning pair and a sliding pair. In the single slider chain mechanism, you are not having 2. Here we are having 2 turning pairs and 2 sliding pairs. That is the name itself. We define it as double slider chain mechanism. We'll see a diagram and then we'll know what exactly happened here. This is an example of double slider mechanism. We have inversion of double slider mechanism. For that, we'll have first one is elliptical triangle. It is an example for inversion of a double slider chain mechanism. It is a drawing. It is a drawing of an ellipse. Actually, it is an instrument used for drawing an ellipse. The inversion is obtained by fixing the slotted plate link 4. We are fixing the slotted plate link 4. The fixed plate link has 2 straight grooves cut into right angles to each other. We'll see there. Right? We have a link 4 here. This is a diagram. We have link 4. See, this is a slotted plate link 4. What we are doing is we are fixing it. And we have a slider here, link 3, and a slider at link 1. This bar is some link 2. If you see, I'll explain you the process here. If this is moving in this direction, what happens to this? It will start moving in this direction. Okay. Now, when it is moving in the opposite direction, what happens to the slider or the link 3? It moves in the opposite direction. That means if it is moving, those 2 are attached like this, right? If it is moving in this direction, it happens like this. Right now, if it is moving in the opposite direction, it will move like this, or if it is moving in the opposite direction, it will move like this. I think you are getting it right. If it is attached like this, if you move it in direction, it will come like this. If it is moving in direction, it will come like this. That means if it is moving in this direction, if it is like this, if it is moving in the direction, it will come like this. So I think you understood the process there, right? But this is actually elliptical triangle is actually meant for drawing an ellipse. Okay. Right. Link 4 has 2 straight grooves cut at right angles to each other. I think I have shown you the 2 right angles. 1 and 2, you have 2 grooves which are right angle to each other. The link 1 and 3 are known as sliders. I shown you the link 1 and 4, they are sliding to each other. And the link AB is a bar which forms a turning pair between 1 and 3. I explain you what is happening. Please you go through the theory part and you'll understand it. Okay. This is meant for forming a what we say ellipse, right? And we know let OX and OY are the horizontal and vertical axis of link BA. So if you see the link BA, these are OX and OY are the horizontal axis, and this is link over BA, which we are drawn. This is some X distance, this is some Y distance. We are making an angle theta here. We are taking a point P coordinates on the link BA, and we can write X is equal to some PQ because this is X distance PQ. From the triangle itself, we can write it as AP cos theta, because if it is theta, cos is equal to adjacent by hypotenuse. Adjacent by hypotenuse, so it can be AP cos theta. If it is sin theta, opposite by hypotenuse, then it will be PR is equal to BP sin theta, which is Y. So from here we have a relation for cos theta and sin theta. Now we are squaring and adding both those two. We have an equation here: x square by AP square plus y square by BP square is equal to cos square theta plus sin square theta, which is 1. So this is the way how we can find the equation of an ellipse by using elliptical trammer. So elliptical trammer is something which we can trace the path by using an ellipse, which have major axis and minor axis, one being major axis and other being minor axis. If both are same, we'll have this equation. That means if both are same, we have x square plus y square is equal to AP square. Okay, that is what our elliptical trammer is. Now, what is this Squarch-Yoki mechanism? Sorry, this is our Squarch-Yoki mechanism. The diagram here is Squarch-Yoki mechanism. Here you have a link, one which is fixed, right? You have a crank which is fixed to the slider. The link starts rotating here. So by then, when if you finish, right? If link starts rotating, if your link is here, then what happens to the slider here? The slider will start moving, right? The slider will start moving. That means if the crank is moving, what happens to the slider? The slider will also start moving. That is what exactly the thing which is attached to the cylinder part. I will show you. So this mechanism is converting the rotary motion into reciprocating motion. That means the crank is rotating, but the slider there is what happening to the slider, it is rotating. Here you can see you have two turning pairs and two sliding pairs happening here. See, I'll show you. This is the turning pair and this is the turning pair. Now with this to this you have a sliding pair, and with this to the piston you have a sliding pair. That means you have two turning pairs and two sliding pairs happening here. What actually happens? The inversion is obtained by fixing the link 1 or 3. You can either fix link 1 or you can fix link either 3. 1 or 3, right? In the figure 1, link 1 is fixed. The diagram here you are showing is link 1 is fixed. In this mechanism, link 2, that means crank which starts rotating with center P. The link 4, the frame which corresponds reciprocates, it starts reciprocating at fixed length. That is what our Squarch-Yoki mechanism is. Next one is very important, is our Oldham coupling. The coupling itself mentions you that it is combining two different things. Coupling is means the Oldham coupling is used for connecting two parallel shafts whose axes are at small distance apart. So it is used to connect two parallel shafts whose axes are not so far distance. They are only some distance apart. So it is something which we use it to coupling itself is something which you what we say connect two parallel things. You connect two things. Here you're connecting two parallel shafts which are not too distance. Here the shafts are coupled in such a way that one shafts rotate to the other shafts also rotate at the same speed. So here the two shafts are coupled in such a way that if one shaft starts rotating, the other shaft will also rotate with the same pair. So if one shaft starts rotating, the other shafts also starts rotating the same thing. You see, these are the diagrams for the Oldham coupling. I'll explain you what actually it is. So here, if one shaft starts rotating, the other shafts also starts rotating with the same speed. The inversion is obtained by fixing the link 2. I'll show you what is the link 2. So the shafts are connected by two flanges, link 1 and 3. So here the inversion happens by fixing the link 2. I'll show you. So this is the supporting frame which is link 2, and this is a shaft and this is another shaft, driving shaft and driven shaft. If one shaft starts rotating, the other shaft will also move with the same speed which we said, which these two shafts are not in much distance, right? The link 1 and the link 1 and 2 3 forms a turning pair with link 2. Link 1, so this is our link 1, right? Flange link 1, which is forming a turning pair with 2, which is forming a turning pair with 2. The same way link 3, so this is our flange, another link. That means coupling is you are using flange coupling. This is a shaft, this is a shaft, in between you have some coupling which is a flange coupling. That means this flange coupling is in a turning pair with the link 1. For a driving shaft, you have a flange. For the driven shaft, you have a flange. This flange link 1 is having a turning pair with the fixed link. This flange link 3 is also having some turning pair with link 2. Now, these flanges have diametrical slots cut in the inner surfaces. Okay. What exactly happened here is when the driving shaft A rotates, if the shaft driving shaft is rotating, the flange C, that means the link 1 here. See, this is a link 1, causes intermediate piece to rotate. So that means I'll show you. This is shaft is rotating. Here you have a flange coupling. In the coupling, you have a material which can rotate. Now this rotating part is transferred to the rotating part inside the flange. Now which is in turn connected to the link 4, which is another flange for the driven shaft. This motion is now converted to the motion to the what is the rotating part in the flange D or the link 4. Now this is in turn converted to the driven shaft. So the motion, the rotating motion is converting from driven shaft to driver shaft by having some intermediate rotating members in the flange. That is what exactly happening. So now what we said actually this is one shaft is rotating, the other shaft should also move in the same or the same speed. So maintain that we need these two flanges, flange 1 and flange 2, that means link 1 and link 4 should be very identical to each other. They should move the same angle. How the link 1 move with some angle, the link 4 should also move to the same angle. Then only you will have driven and driving shafts having same speed, because both shafts are connected to have same speeds, right? This is what our first unit is. I'll explain you whether we are done with or not. We are done with the elements links. We are done with the classifications. We are done with the kinematic types, lower pair, higher pair, closed, open, constrained motions. We are done with that. Mechanisms and machines, mobility, Goodblad's criteria, classification of machines, kinematic chains, inversion mechanisms, quadric chain, single, double. We are done with all the topics of the unit 1. So the next topic we are going to see is the velocity analysis, and then we'll go for the acceleration analysis. Okay.